Peace and blessings, everybody. This is Rev Dele. I'm a grandmother, elder, permaculture professor, and Christian mystic, and I speak to women leaders and environmentalists about activating that divine feminine in nature so that you can peel off the anxiety and lead with inner peace. You have tuned into Becoming Earthwise, where environmentalists, earth keepers, liberators, and leaders of all types have gathered to discuss the next dimension of living with Earth. I am so glad you're here.
Hey, Aquaba, Bonjour. I see some of you have tuned into us this afternoon, and we are so glad you are here. This is Rev Dele. I am speaking to you from Cattle Nation land. This is in Unionville, Louisiana, my ancestral land, and speaking from the Earth Sanctuary. And I have joining me today is Mama Inyame Selassie from the Urban Sanctuary in Detroit, Michigan. And we're saying bonjour, bonjour. That means we welcome all of you, all of who you are, all of who you walk with, and all of who you are meant to be. Yep, we are glad you are here. So we are, a week away from the winter solstice. We are a week away from that time when we have diminishing light. And we want to talk about this whole idea of darkness from an earthwise point of view. A lot of us in our everyday life, we use the word dark whenever we're talking about something bad and evil. And Mother Earth has a whole different way of looking at darkness. Well, I want to remind us that we grow in our mother's womb in the dark, and we need that darkness to develop, to mature. A seed is planted in the earth, and a lot of seeds cannot germinate if they are left out in the light. They require the darkness. They require that privacy, that wombness, that embracing that's required to allow all of your possibilities, to allow your skills and everything to come into fruition. And so, as we're looking at the solstice, this time of a year, we want to, again, like I said, bring another way of looking at darkness. And Mama Nyame has a piece that she's going to share with us about darkness. So,
Darkness is the basis or the base of all life, all power. It is raw power. It is pure love. Light is the expression of that love and power. Only with clear inner and understanding of the darkness can the light be authentic and effective. The concept of light existing separate from darkness is an uninformed concept. Light and darkness must be balanced and equally infused into one another. Without a clear understanding of the alchemy of light and life, the darkness can become reckless and self serving. No matter how fast the light travels, it encounters the darkness every step of the way.
yep, that's both and. In our African wisdom, we talk about both and understandings rather than either or understandings. And that is the mature way to move through life, is to look at things that appear to be contradictory and give them both space to express the fullness of who they are and of what it is. I guess in physics they call dark matter is uh, is matter that is unseen or not filled. And so we don't have to look at things unseen as being wrong. I think we can be drawn into the darkness to observe, what else is there? What else needs to be known other than what is already in the light? What needs to come into the light now? I think, and even to support that point of view, I know there's a therapy called dark room therapy, where you require darkness in order to heal. And I've not uh, participated in that myself. I look forward to doing that. In fact, we're going to build a dark room on our Earth Sanctuary in Unionville, Louisiana. But let's again bring it back to Mama Nyame and tell us, what is darkroom therapy and what does it do for you?
Darkroom therapy is a very ancient technique. And if you look in scripture times, biblical times, Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, all of the people who come forth and say they have messages from God spent some time in the dark, either in a cave, whatever they may want to call it. So, darkroom therapy is scientifically, there is a very serious breakdown of it by Montauk Chia. Montauk Chia has a very luxurious dark room in Thailand, and he is the holder of that tradition for thousands of years. So when you go into the dark, there's stages that you go through, and he breaks it down scientifically on neurologically what's happening to your serotonin, melatonin, your DMT3, da da da, and it all has a process. So when you go in, because we are so overstimulated by the kind of life that we live, and specifically in the city, we don't even have dark skies. So darkness is a necessity. That's why there was darkness and then there were light. They were not mixed together. There was darkness and then there was light. And so these times have to do with our circadian rhythm. It has to do with how our well being is balanced or imbalanced. So the first 3 days in the dark, because we are overstimulated, you go almost into a drunken stupor because you're detoxing. You're detoxing from all the different things that take your attention and that bombard you daily. And then after those 3 days, your energy level really raises. And it depends on where each person is in their own development. But on that fourth day, you begin to be energized, and then you begin to see maybe the fourth or fifth day that light comes from darkness. Darkness does not come from light. So when you start to see the light in a pitch dark room, you can understand from I'm right there in it uh, reality rather than read about it in a book. And then as you allow yourself to do what you said, Rev, see what else is in the darkness, what lies in there, because we can have just as much crud in the light as as we do in the dark, right? You know, so it's not about crud, it's about what lies in the darkness. And for you to delve in there and start to understand aspects of yourself that you might not even have understood existed. So the darkness brings these things to the light, if you will, of your consciousness, and it allows you to get in there and deal with them should you choose to. Your body goes through so many uh, chemical and biological changes that it's amazing. And you learn to move. I liken it to people who have either had the experience or know somebody that has had the experience of learning how to move if they're blind, because they deal with sound, they deal with sensitivity to space and objects, and you get a chance to really just go in and refine everything that you are, for you to be a greater potential of what you were before you came in. And you learn to move around, and then at some point, whatever day it is in your development, you begin to see infrared, and you can see water, and you can see in the dark. And so to me, that says that we have these superpowers. They're in there, elsewise they couldn't come out. And then my first encounter in the dark was 13 days. So when I came out of the dark, we did this dark room in Mexico, and in Mexico, in, other underdeveloped countries, people don't have a lot of internet, so they have internet cafes. And, maybe in a block, you might have two or three internet cafes. And if I would get two doors from an internet cafe, I would get so nauseous that if I go any closer, I will throw up. So it's that toxicity that I had gotten away from and my body has shed, that when I came back in the proximity of it, it was very pronounced. I couldn't, it took me, I think, at least 3 months before I could even go near a computer again. So it just is, it takes you back to your real being, because when you're in there, you start to know when it's light and dark in your body,
Mhm.
and then you can verify it by the people who bring your food in, or yeah, it would be the people who come in. So the darkroom therapy is to take you to the place that peyote, ayahuasca, marijuana, the sacred plants take you. Because as you're in there, you start to develop and secrete all the same elements that are in sacred plants. So it's a high without the substance. It's a raising of frequency and consciousness. So the dark room is, for me, one of the most powerful therapies because it's not addictive. You don't get addicted to going in the dark. And you go in there because you know it's going to be an experience, but it's not an addiction. And it is a clear measurement of where you are, you individually who are in there. Because a lot of times, we take substances, the mushrooms or whatever, and then people are like, yeah, I did this and now I'm zoom, zoom. No, you're not. You did that, but your residence is where you are right now. So the dark room gives you the opportunity to find out that you can make a residence in these other dimensions and levels of consciousness without a substance.
I love that. You're talking about really raw power that is integrated into your being, because you don't have to, like you said, you don't have to consume anything else. And when you come out, whatever power that was enhanced, you still have it. And I
Mhm.
was really amazed, your experience with the internet cafes. I know myself, I have a lot of difficulty working with the technology and so forth, and energetically and in my head and all of that. And I'm just thinking as you were talking, what powers have we diminished by with relying on this technology? We talk about diminishing light. Uh, Maybe the way we live our lives, even though there's a lot of physical light around us, maybe the way that we're living is diminishing the inner light that is within us. And what I'm hearing from you is that in order for that inner light to shine brightly, we have to let go, and we have to embrace the darkness totally and fully. And so that's really what I would invite you all to do over the next couple of weeks. We're going to take some dark time with becoming Earthwise, because we want to spend some time in the darkness, and we want to invite you to do the same, so that when we come back with our next segments, there'll be new insights and new ways of looking at the light and new ways of becoming Earthwise. So I want to thank you for being with us today. And this is it. Peace.
Peace.
Don't you love becoming Earthwise? Until the next time.